There is someone in your life who has never raised their voice at you. They have never threatened you, never begged you, never shown you a single moment of obvious aggression, and yet somehow you always end up doing what they want. You apologize when you did nothing wrong. You doubt memories that you lived through. You shrink your needs to fit around theirs. You feel guilty for wanting things that are completely reasonable. And the most disturbing part? You believe it was all your idea. This is not a coincidence. This is not a personality flaw. This is architecture. Invisible, precise, and deliberately constructed inside your mind by someone who understands one fundamental truth about human psychology. You do not need to control a person's body to control their life. You only need to control what they believe about themselves. Today we are going to pull back the curtain on one of the oldest, most sophisticated, and most invisible forces in human society. Not a conspiracy, not a theory, a mechanism woven into relationships, institutions, and the very structure of language itself. The truth is darker than most people are prepared to accept. But awareness is the only door that leads out. Most people move through their entire lives inside a story they did not write. They believe their thoughts are their own. They believe their doubts arise from internal reflection. They believe their sense of who they are, their worth, their capabilities, their place in the world, was discovered through honest self-examination. But for millions of people, these beliefs were installed by someone else, quietly, methodically, over time. The manipulation of thought is not a modern phenomenon. It has existed as long as human beings have gathered in groups, formed hierarchies, and competed for power. What has changed is our understanding of how it operates, and how invisible it truly is. On the surface, a controlling relationship looks like love. A manipulative environment looks like community. A system designed to extract your compliance looks from the inside like freedom. This is not an accident. The most effective forms of psychological control are precisely the ones that feel like something else entirely. The hidden truth is this: the mind is not a fortress, it is a garden, and gardens can be cultivated by hands other than your own, especially when you have been taught to believe that no one else is tending it. We are drawn to the idea that we are rational, autonomous beings who respond to the world as it is. But the research, the philosophy, and the quiet observations of history all point towards something far more unsettling. Our perception of reality is extraordinarily sensitive to the environment in which it is formed, and those who understand this, truly understand it, can shape that environment to reshape you. The first thing you need to understand about psychological manipulation is that it almost never targets your behavior directly. A skilled manipulator does not tell you what to do. That would be too obvious, too easy to resist. Instead, they target something far more fundamental: your identity, your sense of who you are. Because once they have control over how you see yourself, your behavior follows naturally, without resistance, without suspicion, without the manipulator needing to exert any visible force at all. This is the first great insight. You do not control people through force. You control them through self-concept. If you can make someone believe they are weak, they will not fight back. If you can make someone believe they are broken, they will seek repair from the very person who damaged them. If you can make someone believe they are lucky to be chosen, they will endure conditions that any outside observer would call intolerable. These are not abstract possibilities. These are documented, repeatable psychological patterns that appear in abusive relationships, authoritarian organizations, high-control religious groups, and dysfunctional families all over the world. The mechanics are always the same. Find what a person needs: belonging, validation, safety, love, and then position yourself as the sole provider of that thing. From that position, you do not need chains. You become the anchor around which the other person organizes their entire emotional existence. Their thoughts begin to orbit you. Their internal voice begins to speak in your words. Their reality begins to contract until you are at the center of it. This is not metaphor. This is the lived experience of millions of people who, right now, cannot explain why they cannot leave. 5 centuries ago, in the cold political climate of Renaissance Florence, a diplomat named Niccolò Machiavelli sat down to write what would become the most controversial political text in Western history. The Prince was not written as a celebration of cruelty. It was written as a ruthlessly honest observation of how power actually works, stripped of all moral decoration, all romantic idealism, all comfortable illusion. Machiavelli's central argument was simple and devastating. The world is not governed by virtue. It is governed by the perception of virtue. He wrote that a ruler need not be merciful, faithful, or humane, but must appear to be all of these things, because it is appearances, not realities, that move the minds of the multitude. Read that again. It is not reality that governs human behavior. It is the management of perception. Machiavelli was not inventing this principle. He was naming something that had already been operating for millennia. He was observing that the most powerful force in human relationships is not strength or intelligence or moral authority. It is narrative control. Whoever controls the story controls the room. Whoever controls the story controls the person. Modern manipulators have absorbed this principle without ever reading a page of Machiavelli. They know, instinctively or through experience, that if they can control how you interpret events, they control how you respond to them. They do not need to rewrite history. They only need to make you doubt your own reading of it. This is what Machiavelli saw from the balconies of power 500 years ago. And it is what plays out today, in ordinary apartments, in ordinary offices, in ordinary families, wherever one person has decided that another person's mind is a territory worth occupying. To understand how manipulation sustains itself, you need to understand how the human mind actually processes reality, because it does not work the way most of us assume. The conscious mind, the part you are using right now, the part that reads and reasons and reflects, processes approximately 40 bits of information per second. The subconscious mind processes roughly 11 million. The overwhelming majority of your experience, your emotional reactions, your automatic responses, your moment-to-moment sense of self, all of it happens below the threshold of conscious awareness. This is not a weakness. It is a design feature. The brain automates pattern recognition to free up conscious attention for novel problems. But it also means that most of what you believe about yourself, about relationships, about what is normal and what is acceptable, was written into your subconscious without your conscious consent. Early experiences, repeated messages, emotional conditioning, and social reinforcement all carve pathways in the brain that operate like invisible rules. A skilled manipulator does not try to change your conscious beliefs through argument. That is too slow, too resistible. Instead, they work on the emotional layer, the subconscious layer, through repetition, intermittent reward, manufactured crisis, and strategic affection. Intermittent reinforcement, the unpredictable alternation between warmth and coldness, approval and rejection, is one of the most powerful conditioning tools known to behavioral science. It creates what psychologists call a trauma bond, an intense emotional attachment formed not despite the pain, but partially because of it. The unpredictability keeps the nervous system in a state of constant alert, scanning for signs of approval, interpreting every interaction through the lens of survival. And when you are in survival mode, you are not thinking philosophically. You are not questioning the narrative. You are too busy trying to understand what you did wrong, even when the answer is nothing. Here is the revelation that changes everything. Manipulation is not primarily about making you do things. It is about making you not trust yourself. Every tactic, the gaslighting, the isolation, the criticism disguised as concern, the love that disappears the moment you assert a boundary, every single one of these tactics serves one ultimate function: the systematic dismantling of your internal authority. Because as long as you trust your own perception, you are free. You can see the situation clearly, evaluate it honestly, and choose your response. But once your perception has been compromised, once you have been taught to doubt your memory, your instincts, your emotional responses, your reading of events, you become dependent. You need an external source to tell you what is real. And if the manipulator has done their work carefully, that external source is them. This is the hidden architecture of control, not a cage built around you, a mirror placed in front of you, a distorted mirror that shows you someone smaller, more confused, more flawed, and more dependent than you actually are. And then you are asked to live according to that reflection. The deepest manipulation is not the lie told about the world. It is the lie told about you. Machiavelli understood that power, at its most refined, does not announce itself. It wears the face of the inevitable. The most complete form of control is the kind where the controlled person polices themselves, where they have internalized the manipulator's voice so thoroughly that they no longer need to be managed from the outside. They carry the system inside them. This is the climax of the architecture. This is where the invisible becomes permanent, unless something intervenes, unless awareness breaks through. Awareness is not a passive experience. It is an act of psychological courage, and it can be trained. The first practice is noticing the pattern of doubt. Begin to observe when you feel uncertain about your own perceptions, not the healthy uncertainty that comes from genuine reflection, but the anxious, spinning kind that appears specifically in relation to certain people or environments. That quality of doubt, the kind that always seems to benefit one particular person, is a signal. Take it seriously. The second practice is rebuilding the relationship with your own body. The nervous system holds information that the conscious mind often censors. When you feel tension, contraction, that subtle sense of dread before an interaction, your body is reporting. Learning to read those signals, to sit with them without immediately explaining them away, is one of the most powerful forms of self-reclamation available. The third is reconstructing your narrative. Manipulators survive by controlling how you interpret the past. Journaling, not to perform wellness, but to honestly document your experience over time, creates an external record that is harder to rewrite. It gives your memory an anchor. The fourth is strategic boundaries as information gathering. When you assert a small, reasonable limit and observe the response, you learn something. Genuine care tolerates your needs. Control cannot afford to. The response to your boundaries will tell you more about a relationship than years of ordinary interaction. Finally, seek external perspectives from people who have no stake in your dependence. Isolation is always part of the system. Reconnecting to a wider network of perception, trusted friends, therapists, communities, returns you to a larger reality than the one constructed for you. The goal is not paranoia. The goal is clarity. A mind that knows itself cannot be ruled by someone else's definitions of it. In the end, the most profound truth about manipulation is also the most liberating one. It only works in the dark. Every technique, every tactic, every carefully constructed architecture of psychological control depends on one single condition: that you do not see it. The moment genuine understanding enters the room, the spell begins to dissolve. Not immediately, not painlessly, but irreversibly. Machiavelli taught us that power lives in perception, but perception can be recovered. The capacity to trust your own experience, to honor your own observations, to stand inside your own reality without needing someone else to validate it. That capacity cannot be permanently taken from you. It can be suppressed, it can be buried, but it is always there, waiting, beneath every layer of doubt that was never yours to begin with. You were not born confused about your own worth. You were taught to be. And what has been taught can be unlearned. The world you experience is not happening to you. It is being shaped in part by the stories you have been given about who you are. Change those stories, reclaim the authorship of your own mind, and the architecture of control begins to fall, not because the manipulator changed, but because you finally did.